So, for those of you who don't know who Joey Diaz is, Joey Diaz is a stand up comedian that is featured a lot on the Joe Rogan podcast. He is a lot of things, but kind of a fucked up individual. And he does a podcast every morning that he calls The Morning Joint, where it's just him smoking and talking to you. And, that's not exactly what we do here, but the first video of the day, I usually try to make somewhat shorter, 20 minutes or less, and do it when I start doing this. I don't do this in the morning, okay? I do this in the afternoon or in the middle of the night, usually. A few other times in between as, the inspiration hits me or whatever, but, right now, I just got back inside from doing a whole bunch of shit, which we could talk about, but I don't want to talk about because it's boring. And I've been up since fucking, not too early, but I've been up since 9 o'clock. And I got some shit done and got some things done. And it's Friday. So now I'm going to smoke and talk to you guys. And that's half of my thing is, if I had something better to do, I would probably be doing it. But most of the time, I'm just kind of bored and watching movies and getting high. And if that's what I'm doing, and the moment strikes me to talk to you guys about something, I typically do that. It's not all I do, but at this moment, because of the nature of the world and things that I've done for myself, that's kind of what I do. And when I say things that I've done for myself, basically you should get that past me is a really good fucker. Past me is my best friend. He does things all of the time that make me lots of money. Okay, that's all I can say about that. Be a better person with your money. Invest more wisely, and then you won't need it as much. I spend a few $100s every month on random ass shit that I don't need. You know that? That's a lot of my preps, quote unquote, are bullshit money that I decided to throw at something, basically. And I was throwing it at silver for a while. And I don't think silver and gold have any tie to reality anymore. I think that those markets are so heavily manipulated that they are not a safe haven. If you have a big box of gold, don't worry, it's always going to be worth something. But right now, you should be buying the fuck out of gold and silver, not selling it. It's not the price that it is currently. It's the fact that you'll get an ounce of gold, and whatever system emerges out of this collapse, the ounce of gold will still be worth something at the end of it. That's why you would buy gold. Silver, pretty much the same, but silver's volatile and fluctuates and whatever. I don't know. That's the thing with silver is I like it because it's cheap and it's shiny and it's a precious metal. I think those are cool. There are things about it that make it cool. However, I don't know. I have very little silver at the moment, and spent money on other shit. I had silver, and I sold it to buy the FAL, and that was a good move. I made a lot of money doing that. And then selling the FAL funded mini projects. It did not complete my wish list. Like, this is the thing, is like everything that I do is kind of this ongoing thing, is like, okay, where to spend the next $150 to $300. Okay. And like things that cost more than that now, I try to save up for, and I have a list for that kind of stuff. It's on my fridge. But my list of stuff that costs more than $300 is not very long. It's like land, night vision, a hunting shotgun, a deer rifle, a set of samurai swords, a balisong, oh, and a $700 case pocket knife. Because why not? Like, that's the stuff that I'm saving for. You're like, you should be saving up for whatever. I am saving up for fucking land. And I'm going to have to start saving for night vision soon, unless I decide to sell the Flux Raider. I go back and forth on it once. It's like, it's a really cool toy, but it could fund the entire night vision project and probably pick up a couple of spares along the way. That would be dope. It's also dope to have a PDW. So I don't know. I'm probably going to keep that thing the more I think about it, but it is so tempting to sell. But with most of my projects and shit, I don't have this need that most people have for getting the very best thing. I never have. I kind of make my own shit and make it cool. And like, this is the result of growing up poor and then having a lot of money. I've done both. What I find that I enjoy the most now is having stuff that really means something to me and is customized to my liking. Whether it's cheap or expensive. And like, this is the thing about like my 1911. A lot of people can talk shit about my 1911, but you'll never see another one like it. It's mine. Okay? And it's a fucking Remington. And I guarantee you that it would outperform some much, much more expensive guns. And I know that because it's a Remington that I reworked the guts of it myself. So, I don't know. I'm pretty confident in it. Before I even shot it, I took it completely apart and reworked half the goddamn parts in it and then put it back together. That's why I like 1911s. I really know how to work on that gun. Like, this is the thing, like, a lot of people don't get about me, I think. It's like, when I tell you to go buy a gun, it's not, oh, that's the best gun. No, we've already concluded that that is not the right question here. When I tell you to buy a gun, it is because I believe that it is the cheapest gun for the money that does the thing that I need it to do the best for the least amount of weight. So, like my KE Arms AR-15 or that FAL, depending on what you're doing, one of the two of those is a pretty good rifle. If you need 308, a KE Arms AR-15 isn't going to cut it. Okay, if you need 308 and a more expensive gun, well, the FAL is not going to cut it. You know, and a lot of my whole thing here is not, this is the best thing you should get and this is what you should save up for and buy. No, it's after a considered fucking journey through the gear world, I have what I have. And most of it is very well thought out and well reasoned for me. And you shouldn't necessarily copy me, but you should take what I've done and apply it on your own guns. Like, take the way that I'm doing my shit and the way I think about my shit and apply it to you and your situation. Maybe don't like try to become me or whatever, but like when it comes to like rigging your gear for war, this is how you should be. Like, this is what you got now. Is it a fucking FAL? Great. Is it an AR-15? Great. Is it a spear? Great. I don't care. I need a weapon. There are various weapons. Some are better than others. Some are worse than others. And that's like most of the gun shit that I ever did on the internet was trying to educate myself in what I wanted, what I needed. And the study that I did of modern warfare and conflict from a historical perspective, highly, was to determine from a like nerd aspect, like from a scientist aspect, what is it that we're trying to achieve here? That's that's where I started my journey in looking for this type of shit. Uh, you know, in reality, I started the journey at just buying a rifle, but somewhere along the way, I quickly concluded that I needed to know more. That was probably around the time I bought an AK and it jammed. That that was an interesting experience. That it made me not an AK guy. Not that I don't like AK. They're cool. I know how to use them. I've owned many of them. I've owned cooler ones than you, probably. Is it a good rifle? Depends on what you want to use it for, but yeah, in general. Would it be my first go-to? Never. Never in a modern context. Basically, the AK-74M I like. And maybe it as like a PDW for me, I could see that. For, we're part of a larger force and we're going to have all the same mags, it makes no sense. And that's kind of where I'm at, is that in reality, if you're fighting in the continental United States, you're using 5.56 and you're using AR-15s. Pretty much. This new shit from the army with the fucking was it 6.8 spear? In my opinion, what that thing is the Democrats are rigging to go to war against you and I. And their whole idea of buying that thing is they're going to try to outrange us because they know we have AR-15s. And maybe that's not their goal. Maybe they really are going after Russia or some shit. Just it doesn't seem that way to me. It seems like everything they do is targeted at us in some way, shape, or form at the end of the day. Sorry. Anyway, that's kind of my like weapons philosophy shit, is like it's not so much you should go buy this and like, oh, we're gonna review this. Like, there's some shit that you should probably know brand wise to go for. Like, I'm a Palmetto State Armory fan. I'm a KE Arms polymer lower fan. I'm a Mossberg fan, kind of in general. I was a fan of Remington's 1911s before they went under. There's a few other things, but like maybe I should do a video on the top guns I've ever owned. I could really put a lot of thought into that. I've got a list somewhere of most of the guns that I ever had pass through my hands. I kind of stopped adding to it towards the end. I had a couple of things happen where a phone got smashed and part of the list was gone. I didn't see a reason to continue it, but like the list of guns that I had bought up to the point that I stopped keeping track was like 504 or something like that. I like looking through that list because it does bring back memories, to be honest. I remember the gun shows that I bought some of those guns at with my grandfather. I would recommend keeping a list of the guns that pass through your hands. Like, don't write serial numbers down, don't write models down, write something in shorthand so that you can remember it for yourself. So, like in my gun notes, it'll say M1 Garand H&R Grandpa. That does not identify that rifle. I'm not even going to tell you what that means. But to me, that means something. And it's not that that's the one that I got from Grandpa. The fact that it says H&R and Grandpa together, it means something. That's the way I'd write my list if I were you. Make it your gun wish list. Anyway, it's probably not the best idea to keep track of that kind of shit. However, it is kind of fucking cool to have memories of, you know, I have guns that I on that list that I bought while with my buddy Blazer and my grandpa at a gun show in Springfield, Missouri, while he was still alive and I was just meeting him. And it was like this crossroads of shit in my life. And I think that's half of why I like Blazer so much is that he's the only one of you fucks that I met while my grandfather was still alive and he met my grandfather. And like by the time he met him, he was kind of a little old man and, you know, burning out. I miss him. I think that's half of the thing people will never understand about me is that I wish I could talk to my grandfather today, looking the way I look, acting the way I act, look him in the eye, and tell him that I'm not afraid of him. That's one of those things that I don't think a lot of people would get. I have no fear of that man now. None. And I think he would be proud of that. And it's one of those things like the only way that you don't fear him is because you're as bad as he is, pretty much. Some sort of version of that. I think that's the part that he would like. Well, that's about it for this video. I'm not really sure there's a point to this other than to start talking and start smoking. I'll see you guys later. Hopefully later today when I think of something else to do a video on.